all the time. You keep driving those things. It's your attitude. What is it about us that causes us to have such a rotten, stinking attitude toward the Lord? It's the devil. We're listening to the devil. Instead of influencing our kids for God, we're influencing our kids for the devil. We got a bad spirit. It's as if we say, the Lord's let us down. Being a Christian's a disappointment. And then we turn right around and say, you need what I got. And they say, no, I don't. No, I don't. I don't want what you have. It's like a disease. We've already talked about it many times. We men are so hot-headed. I'm hot-headed. Most every man in this church is hot-headed, and half the women are hot-headed. You lose your temper all the time. By the way, people think I get mad. You don't know how mad I could get if it wasn't for the restraint of the Lord. But if you go around excusing that and blame it on God, God doesn't have anything to do with our stinking selves. It's the devil, and it's us. We're sinners. Don't blame God for the ugly things in your life. Don't say things like, well, I know Ronnie was kidding earlier. I'm not perfect. Well, none of us are perfect. All right, that's one angle of that. Another reason I think we mess up in rescuing our children is we're not honest about our past. Parents say to the kids, I never did that. You know that stuff, you're rebellion? I never did that. I never was rebellious. You may have been a little more refined. One reason you didn't do it was you had a daddy or a mama that beat the fire out of you if you did. By the way, you had the same opportunity with your kids to raise your kids. It's a different world, to be fair. It's a hard world these kids are living in. It's a hard world we grew up in, but y'all, it's harder now. Everything and everybody's come out of the closet. Sin is in your face. It's brazen, shameless. Listen, I'm trying to help. That's all I'm trying to do is help you. If we're going to rescue our kids. If you've got hard things in your past, you don't have to be graphic about your past. But y'all realize we saw these little kids. There's quite a number of little kids even here tonight. Don't have as many today, but you just look at these little kids. And you tack 10 years on their age right now. 10 years is a short amount of time to an adult. You tack 10 years on their life, those kids could already be on the road to a broken home, to shattered dreams, to heartaches that are just countless. Are y'all hearing me? You let your kids know, listen, I messed up. You do it right. You don't do it wrong. You don't have to do it wrong to learn that what you did was wrong. You be faithful. You be faithful to God. You be faithful. So when you get married, you're pure. And you be faithful to your marriage vows. Y'all out there? I know the heartache. I know the heartache of doing it the other way. I don't want that for you. And God doesn't want that for you. God's got better than that. Are y'all? Please pay attention to me. If you don't do that, if you present yourself as, you got all the answers. You never did anything wrong. You look down your nose at your kids like they're stupid or something. You're not real. You don't give the Lord the glory for the good things in your life, and you take the blame for the ugly things in your life. If you don't do that, y'all, you're not going to have much influence on your kid. Rescuing your children is a big deal. I don't know why I feel compelled to share it, but we had somebody, Mabel, that has been here the last few weeks and joined us last Sunday. They had a family that worked for them when they had their business. And that family came to our church in the early days. And the girl had made a profession somewhere along the road. She said she got saved. Her name was Amy. We didn't see Amy for a while. She became a teenager and got away, and we didn't know what happened. You know, people do things. So I ran into her loafing jug one day, and as soon as she saw me, her face lit up, and I'm always encouraged by that. You know, I'm glad people like to see me. I hate it when people want to run the other way. Oh no, the preacher's here. Anyway, she said, "You know what happened to me?" I said, "I don't know anything." She said, "I almost died." And y'all, you imagine this. She and some friends were swimming at Pueblo Reservoir at the dam, and the undertow caught her and sucked her through on the other side. She went under the dam and came out the spillway on the other side. And she comes shooting through, and this guy just happens to be there. Just happens to be, and sees her. Now, if you've been to the Pueblo Reservoir, well, that water's coming through there at a pretty good pace part of the time, and I can't imagine even seeing somebody come through. She comes shooting through. He catches her on the other side, and he does all the things you have to do, revives her, and she's still alive. She said, "I was as close to death as anybody could be and still live." But whatever passion, whatever enthusiasm and energy that man must have put in to rescue that young woman is what we need to be putting in to rescue our kids. Amen. We're casual about it. It's not going to happen. I ask you, how far will you go? You say, "I'd do anything with my kids." I hear people say that all the time, and I think, no, you wouldn't. I don't want to just look at you and say you wouldn't. You don't mean it. Quickly, we need to train our children in the truth. Amen. They're not going to know by osmosis. You can't put it on a record or something at night, play it while they're asleep. Your kids need to be in church. We have churches to train people, teach people. Kids need to be in church. You know, we have kids right now that want to come to church. The children have said it to us. They said, "We would come every week, but our parents won't come." We need to be family oriented again. The Bible, Christ-centered education. Kids need to be educated. They all need to learn. It's pretty hard to function without being able to read and write. And how are you going to learn the Bible? How are you going to learn the things of God if you're not able to read and write? Along with the right things, we've covered a lot of those things. We need to protect our children from the devil's deceit. Now, hear me. All the world's tools, the devil's using to his advantage. He knows how to use them. I don't want to give him any credit for anything, but I want to tell you he's no slouch when it comes to deceiving. He is a deceiver and a liar. We need to help our kids so that they're not pulled in, sucked into the world. We need to help watch their friends. Y'all, how many of you that have older kids would go back in your memory to a time that your child that's no longer a kid started hanging out with the wrong bunch? And it was their downfall. Well, the Bible warns us about that. So all of us that still have opportunity to influence kids, watch their friends. You've got to be willing to be unpopular with your child so that your child will be protected. Do the best you can to keep them simple concerning evil. That's a Bible expression. Kids don't need to know everything ugly in the world. I'm so tired of hearing this. This has no biblical basis whatsoever. People say, well, I want my kids to be prepared. Oh, they're prepared right now. They're well exposed to the world. They turn the TV on, got the phone, got the computer. You drive down the street, you go to the mall, you go to Walmart. You think that they're not aware? You're the one who says how smart they are. Their little minds are like a camera. Everything. I do not apologize for protecting my kids all I could. The Bible says that we need to be simple concerning evil. Help your kids. Watch the goals we set for our kids. You're going to rescue your kids. Watch the goals you set for your kids. Chloe said it right earlier. She got it. Pray for me that I'll understand. That's why you're in school. Now, if you understand, your grades will be good too. But the grades are secondary. The understanding is primary. You want to learn what you're there for because you only get one shot at it. How many of y'all, when you had algebra, thought, what am I in here for? I'll never use algebra. I was one of them. I was already going to preach. I mean, what do you need algebra for in preaching? In fact, what do you need math for? Preachers don't tell the truth about the numbers they have in church anyhow. You know, the preacher counts the cat out on the fence, the dog that walked by in the yard. How many did you have in church? Boy, I had a whole bunch of them. They'll say, we're running however many. Well, they run, all right. They run out just as quick as they run in. Not much honesty, but watch the goals we set for our kids. Now, almost done, so y'all hang with me. I've seen little good myself come from the broad-minded approach of a parent. I want to be broad-minded. The undisciplined approach. I'm going to let my kids make all their own decisions. They'll wind up in prison one day. The other thing, this segmented approach. I hate this, if I can explain myself. At church, we're one way. We got one personality at church. At home, we're another way. We're out with certain friends, we're another way yet. If we ever forget who we're with and at what time, it's embarrassing. I'll tell you, I've seen it happen being a preacher all these years. Somebody be talking, and next thing you know, they're telling me some joke, and they get right in the middle of it. And they're speechless. Or they'll start to say something, and they'll drop some profane word. And they think, you that have driven a truck, y'all know what it is to grind the gears? It's all of a sudden, it's just like people go, can't get in gear. They forget who they are. You be the same parent all the time. Be consistent. If somebody sees you out somewhere, you're the same all the time. You're never any different. That's a good testimony to your kids. Christians, all Christians, old, young, in the middle, should be the same every day. By the way, you're teaching to your children of the things of the Lord is not just teaching, like point by point, rehearsing God's work, but it's showing them what a difference the Lord makes. Don't be like a chameleon that changes your appearance with your surroundings. And as a parent, as a Christian, be faithful to give the gospel to the lost, even though it's unpopular. In lots of places, it's unpopular. Be brave enough when you apply for a job, somebody says, well, is there anything I need to know about you? They often ask that, don't they? Well, I'm a Christian. They say, well, I don't want you talking about the Lord here. Well, you don't need me here. Because that's me. The Lord is the most important person in my life, and I'm not going to be quiet about the Lord. I will give you everything you pay me for and then some, but I'm not going to leave God out of my job. They'll respect you for that. They may not hire you, but I'll guarantee you, if you don't take a position up front, it's going to cause you trouble down the road. Just get it over with. Y'all, I've done it, so don't tell me it won't work. When they ask me for a card, you know what I give them? I give them a gospel tract. I don't even have cards anymore. I don't advertise. It's got our church on it. I say, I wrote this. You need to read this. This is us. This is who you're getting. You hire us. Say, I can't work. I know nobody'd hire me. Well, it's not worked that way with us. You give the gospel to the lost even though it's unpopular, and y'all, someday it might be illegal. You give it to them anyway because the Lord says so. Now, last comment. I believe that any Christ-honoring, biblically sound ministry that reaches people, including kids, helps people grow in Christ and walk with God. I hear people a lot say, well, what can we do? I mean, things are so bad. What can we do? And, of course, we go to vote, and we'll talk about, well, you need to vote. We need to pray. Well, we need to pray. We need to vote. But, y'all, this is something that also you can do. Everybody has people you influence. Do y'all know that sometimes you have a greater influence over my children and my grandchildren than I do, or my wife? And while I'm on that, through the years in the church, and I'm not saying this to flatter you, I'm saying it because it's true. I thank the Lord for Fountain Independent Baptist Church. This church has ministered to my family. You've loved us. You've loved Sherilyn and I. We have never been a perfect pastor and wife. Our kids have never been perfect kids. But I know that many of you were not here those years, but others like you were here. When my kids have had problems, y'all was there to love my kids and help my kids through those times. A lot of times people say, well, I wish every family had all their children in church. Well, don't give all the credit to Sherilyn and I. The credit belongs to the Lord, and also the church has been a big part of my kids. Y'all, this is what I desire. Y'all hear me. One reason I say so much about your kids and your grandkids, and I keep harping on it, I know I do. Don't you give up on your kids and your grandkids. And church, don't you let these kids down. You keep talking about the Lord. Don't get a stinking attitude. Don't get a bad spirit. Don't constantly talk about the good old days like, I mean, they're gone and gone forever. They were wonderful. They were perfect. Nah. They can read. If kids are going to have any kind of life, we've got to tell them about what God can do now, not just back then. All these little kids, y'all, it'd be cruel to have little children and never even intend to talk to them about the Lord. Tell them what the Lord has done and what the Lord can do for them. Let's go to the Lord in prayer.